For reasons that utterly escape everyone involved, you're listening to a Bipolar, a Schizophrenic, and a podcast. Here are your hosts, Gabe Howard and Michelle Hammer.
Hey, you're listening to a Bipolar, a Schizophrenic, and a podcast. My name is Gabe, and I am the Bipolar one.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I am the Schizophrenic one.
I like how we always start our podcast like so cheerful and happy, and then we like delve right into something like scary or triggering or worrisome or depressing.
That's very true. We definitely do that. Start all happy and then get really deep in the grit.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the show, you have like a roller coaster ride of emotions. Oh my god, do you think the show is bipolar?
Maybe it is. I think it is. It has bouts of mania. Yes, it does.
It has bouts of mania and extreme sadness.
The show stays up all night and spends tons of money. I'm sure the show does that.
Both of those things are absolutely true. The show costs bank to put on, and it is totally expensive. Michelle.
Yes, Gabe.
We did an episode, I don't know, a while back, where we talked about being in a psych ward.
Yes, we did.
When we had that episode, we were talking about our experiences being in a psychiatric ward. Mm-hmm. Recently, you had a friend that needed your help, and you took her to a psychiatric hospital, took her to be evaluated, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that you entered a psychiatric ward, not as a patient, but as an advocate.
So the whole thing is that I found my friend in a compromising situation. The same day, I went with my friend to go see her psychiatrist. And from speaking with him and things that got on that day, we decided that we should bring her to the psych ward. We went to the hospital, and we found the psych unit. We had to buzz a million times to finally get in. And they said, okay, we'll take her, but visiting hours aren't for another half an hour. So I let her in there, and I just went to the waiting room. And I was just, like, really freaked out about the whole thing. I was just not okay. And then, you know, I waited, and then I met up with her sister, and then we went like into the psych ward at visiting time, and we're in there and kind of like seeing the people walk around, and at one point there's this guy just starts screaming and screaming and screaming from another bed, like in a room. And it took me a second, and then I realized what was going on, that the guy was totally tied up to the bed screaming, and that's why he was yelling so much. And that was like total flashback, because I've been tied up to a bed screaming. And, you know, they like to ignore you when you do that. So it was just like, okay, flashback memory, kind of scary. Really hope I wished I didn't hear that. Or just like, maybe that guy should have been moved to a different unit or something, because this was the emergency intake, they told us. And then they said if you have to be staying there, then you get moved up to the other floor where you're there for more time.
Hang on a second, Michelle. This is the challenging part of all of this. You know, one of the things that you said, and you can tell it was very much patient Michelle.
Yes.
You know, you said they like to ignore you. And I mean, is that really a fair they like it? Like there's just a whole bunch of people that apply for a job at the psychiatric ward because they enjoy watching people suffer?
I don't know. It's like, I don't understand why somebody has to be tied to a bed. What do people get out of why is it necessary to tie a person up to a bed? Because they're being dangerous?
Yeah, because they're a danger to themselves or others.
Because
if you let people loose, they could get a hold of something. And I know that's so traumatizing. I mean, being physically restrained.
Dangerous. I was not being dangerous when I was tied up. They said they just didn't like my behavior, and they told me that they wanted to give me a shot because I wasn't behaving, and if I said no, that I didn't want the shot, they would just tie me to the bed and give me the shot anyway. And I said I didn't want it, so then like 3 nurses just tied me to the bed and gave me the shot anyway. Like, I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve to be tied to a bed just because I refused the shot. I wasn't hurting anybody. I wasn't endangering anybody. I was just mad. I was just angry, and I wanted to leave. So, like, I know that guy was just screaming and everything, but I was also thinking, like, you know, does he really deserve to be tied up like that? I don't know what he did, but I was thinking about that. And also I'm in there, and there was this other woman or girl, I don't really know how old she was, but she was very obviously schizophrenic. I could tell easily that she was schizophrenic. She was just like pretending to read books, talking to herself, walking around talking to herself. She even went over to the payphone and was pretend talking to people on the payphone. And I was like, oh my goodness, I definitely have that mannerism as well. So, I'm in the psych ward, we're looking at a schizophrenic girl with tons of symptoms doing mannerisms that I do. So it's hard to like be there and see that. And she's in the psych ward and I'm visiting the psych ward as a schizophrenic person is just such a mind twist. I don't even know what to say.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. The very first time that I walked into a psychiatric ward as something other than a patient, the very first time that I walked into a psych hospital as something other than a patient, it blew my mind because I had a completely different outlook on how I was thinking. When I was there as a patient, I was thinking just about myself, about my happiness, my safety, my whatever. It was Gabe all the time. How does Gabe respond? When I went the other time, I cared about the person I was there with. I suddenly evaluated things from just a completely different perspective. And I actually looked around and saw the other people there and realized that used to be me. And oh my God, could that be me again?
Yeah.
But the thing that was really freaky to me was the idea that I could leave. I mean, you could have just got up and walked out, Michelle. You weren't a patient. You were just a visitor.
I know, but it was hard to think that way.
Why was it hard to think that way?
It just was. It just felt like I was there again, really. I felt like...
Yeah.
It felt like I was, like, expecting to just not leave. And I was just scared about the whole situation. I was scared for my friend. I was scared she was going to be stuck there for weeks. I was just scared she was never going to get out. And I was really upset about the whole thing. I was crying so much. I haven't cried that much in like years, I think. The whole thing was traumatizing. And then in the waiting room, there's instrumental songs of Celine Dion playing, which did not help with the crying. You hear Celine Dion, you start crying even more.
Near.
Exactly, yes, that's the song they played. Instrumental of that song.
Wherever you are.
And then...
You think I could, like, quit the podcast and be, like, a vocalist?
No.
Oh.
It was just such a surreal thing to walk into a psych ward and just be there. And then later in the night, somebody comes in handcuffs. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever he did, he fought the cops. I like that I know that. He must have fought the cops. That's why he's, showing up to the psych ward with his handcuffs and everything while he probably made a suicide attempt or something like that. I'm like the ace of the psych ward. I know why everyone's in there. Because we couldn't see the guy who was screaming, but I'm like, that guy is definitely tied to a bed. Definitely. I guess I just know now. I'm like the psych ward expert.
Oh my God, you're the psych ward whisperer.
I'm the psych ward whisperer.
I know how tough it is. I mean, and I think that anybody listening would understand how going through something traumatic and then having something remind you of it would be scary, would be traumatizing. I mean, whatever word you want to put in there, nerve-wracking. If you get in a car accident, yeah, for the next few weeks when you're driving in your car, you're going to be a little freaked out because car accidents are scary. Even small fender benders. I remember the very first time I hydroplaned and I spun around a circle a couple of times and I just kind of landed in an embankment. My car wasn't even damaged, but just being in a car and losing control like that, it was scary. And the next time it rained, I had like a death grip on the steering wheel and I was like, it's like that, except you're in a place that you have sort of mixed feelings about because clearly it helped you because you said that when your friend was in danger, that's where you wanted her to go.
Right.
But you also said that it was a terrifying, scary place where people like to ignore you and don't care that you're suffering. So you have to admit that's a mindfuck right there. You've just said that they like to ignore you and threaten you and treat you poorly, but that's where you wanted your friend to go. Wrap your brain around that.
I feel like they do treat you poorly in a psych ward. They wait.
Of course you feel that way.
But they wait and they don't do your paperwork and you can just be waiting for them to discharge you forever. You can be waiting for the doctor, waiting for your meds, waiting for everything. It's like this. It's just the slowest place ever, and you're surrounded by people who, of course, you never think you're the crazy one, like I've said before. You think, oh, I'm the sanest person in here, and all these people are crazy. Why am I in here? But then you're stuck in there, and you feel like you don't deserve to be there.
I feel that way when I'm at the DMV. You don't know that because you're not allowed to drive.
I have a license.
Wait, schizophrenics can get driver's licenses?
Surprisingly, yes. We can get driver's licenses, Gabe.
I've never seen you drive.
So I don't have a car.
Oh, that makes sense. Schizophrenics aren't allowed to own cars.
Exactly. You've got it. You've got it.
There's people that believe that. There's people that believe that if you have serious mental illness, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, that you're not allowed to have nice things. Like, do you know how many times people tell me that I can't possibly have bipolar disorder because I own a house? Apparently, you're not allowed to own a house if you have bipolar disorder. Did you know that, Michelle?
Yeah, totally.
Well, and since schizophrenia is worse, you're not allowed to own a house or a car.
Yeah. Or anything dangerous ever, or a hammer. Can't own a hammer. Might kill somebody with it.
I own a hammer.
I can't own a hammer.
I call her Michelle.
Yeah. Pause for 1 second. I'm gonna cry, and we're gonna hear from our sponsor. I'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.com. Secure, convenient, and affordable online counseling. All counselors are licensed, accredited professionals. Anything you share is confidential. Schedule secure video or phone sessions, plus chat and text with your therapist whenever you feel it's needed. A month of online therapy often costs less than a single traditional face-to-face session. Go to BetterHelp.com/Psych Central and experience 7 days of free therapy to see if online counseling is right for you. BetterHelp.com/Psych Central.
PsychCentral.com is the internet's largest and oldest independent mental health online resource. Since 1995, our completely free, award-winning website has been run by mental health professionals offering reliable, trusted information, as well as over 250 support groups to people living with mental illness. From professional articles to personal stories, PsychCentral.com is worth your time checking out and is the generous sponsor of this podcast.
We are back.
How long were you there? How long were you and your friend there, and was she admitted?
We were there for hours. I don't know. I think we got there around 6:30. We left around midnight. Me and her sister went with her to talk to a resident that was going to decide if she needed to stay for a few days or just be able to get discharged that night. So he's like, asking her questions, and it was all like, I've heard all those questions before. So he's asking her, and we're also answering the questions. And at one point, he starts asking all these questions about mania. I go, she doesn't have bouts of mania. And he goes, oh, so I guess you know that's where I was heading. And I was like, yeah, I'm schizophrenic. I've been through this many times. And you can I just knew with all the questions where he was leading.
Did the questions make more sense this time?
They do.
Because I remember when they were asked to me, I was just like, what is this nonsense garbage? And then the first time I saw them be asked to somebody else, I'm like, wow, there is a lot of diagnostic takeaways here. This is amazing.
Right. I could tell first was the depression questions. Then there was mania questions. Then there was hallucination questions about schizophrenia. Do you hear your name being called? I was like, okay, obviously.
Michelle.
Yeah, do you hear your name being called? It was just, I knew where all the questions were leading.
Michelle.
So he decided that she didn't need to stay over and could just be discharged that night and try to go to outpatient and all that.
One of the things that you said at the top of the show was that you found her in a compromising position. Now, we don't have a show that says things like compromising positions. What happened?
I'd rather not say exactly what happened, but it was something extremely triggering for me to see.
It was a suicide attempt, right?
Yes. It was terrifying.
What did you do immediately? I mean, you open the door, you see your friend making an attempt on her life, and boom, you spring into action. What did you do?
I kind of yelled, "What are you doing? Stop that right now." And we just cried and cried and cried. It was horrible. Oh, God. It was just like something I thought I'd never see again.
And then what did you do?
We left my apartment. We got some food, and then we went to the psychiatrist that she had an appointment with.
So there was already an appointment later on that day.
Right. So.
And you told the psychiatrist, you walk in, tell the psychiatrist.
We walked in, He was asking about, like, medicine changes, all the basic stuff. He's very cold. He doesn't even really look at you when you speak. He just stares at his computer. And then when we kind of said what happened, and he wrote down his cell phone number, and he was like, okay, you guys can go to the hospital. And we called many, many different hospitals to find out where the psychiatric unit was. And we did find one really pretty, like, only 5 stops on the subway away. So we went there, and we just, like, walked in and tried to find it. We finally found the room. It was just really scary. It was really scary, and it was terrifying. And, like, I never thought I'd be in that position again.
You never thought that you'd be in that position again because you assumed that being in that position again would meant that you would make an attempt on your life, or you would self-harm, or you would be in psychiatric trouble. It never occurred to you that the people around you could also have psychiatric problems, and you'd have to be the protector, the family member, the caregiver.
Yeah, like, I guess, like, throughout, like, the past 10 years or 12 years, like, it's always been me being the unstable one. I'm the crazy one. I'm the one everyone has to take care of. So, like, being flipped in the position where I was the caretaker was something that I never really expected to be. But I guess, you know, like, if you're gonna go to the psych ward, I guess go with somebody that has a lot of experience, I guess.
That's the whole point of peer support in psychiatry. This is something that our movement is actually promoting a lot, and we get a lot of pushback on it. We hear things of people saying, oh, this is like letting the patients run the asylum. But the whole concept of peer support is, I've been where you are and I can help you. We're not trying to replace doctors or medication or therapy, but, you know, things are scary. When I go to New York, I like to hang out with Michelle because Michelle understands New York. I'm not asking you to set up the Times Square display. I'm just asking you to help me get there. And this is why peer support is valuable, because there's an instant rapport. We're easier to talk to, and we make people less afraid and less scared. But yeah, we can't provide any treatment. And it was a good thing you were there for your friend, because I imagine that the whole process was terrifying. I mean, it was terrifying when we went through it. Why would it not be terrifying when somebody else goes through it?
Yeah, I know. That's right. I mean, she must have been absolutely terrified, because the thought of being, like, stuck in a psych ward is just terrifying. I mean, there's no hooks on the walls. The doorknobs are different. The windows are, like, sealed shut, or you don't even have a window. It's like, I don't even know how to compare it to anything else. I've never been to jail, so I don't know if you can compare it to jail, but you're just trapped in there, and everybody treats you like you're sick.
Well, because you're in the hospital, Michelle.
Yeah, but, like,
because you're sick.
But they treat you like you're a baby. Like, here's your meds. The doctor wants you to take these meds. Like, I heard the nurse go to that schizophrenic woman and say, here, I have the meds from the doctor for you. The doctor wants you to take this, and this in liquid form. Like, I heard that happen, and I'm like, why do they baby everybody like that? Like, they speak to you like you're a baby. Why? You don't have to treat people like they're so sick like that. They're still people. I don't get it.
The idea behind it is that it's non-confrontational. It's calming. The whole idea is to get you to understand and comply quickly. Because the bottom line is, they don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of time. It would be nice if every patient was watched over by one doctor, but it's one doctor for 20 patients if you're lucky. It's one nurse for, 10 patients if you're lucky. It's one orderly for 5 patients if you're lucky. So you're just wildly outnumbered, and anything that you can do to get somebody their treatment faster is what they do, because psych services are the lost leader of the medical world, because the majority of people are young when they're diagnosed, and they don't have health insurance, they don't have money, they don't have resources, and they end up in psychiatric wards where they desperately need care that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars that nobody will pay for, because we have really shitty health care in this country.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, you check yourself into the psych ward, and then they give you tons of paperwork to fill out. Like, you might be upset, crying, horrible, having the worst time of your life. Oh, where's your insurance card? I need you to fill out your paperwork, and I need your insurance, and I need all that information. Like, I'm sitting here, like, crying and everything, but okay, thanks for the pencil. I'll fill out all the paperwork for you. Like, no. Like, why is it like that?
Oh, sweetie, you know it's going to blow your mind? I mean, you know it's just going to just blow your little mind? They do this to people having heart attacks as well. If you are stable, they're collecting insurance information. And on one hand, wow, that is just god awful. You just had a heart attack. You're barely stable and somebody wants to know how you're going to pay. But this is what we want. This is what America wants. We want you to have to pay and fill out paperwork when you are sick, because otherwise we're socialists and we're going to burn in hell.
That's just not fair, though.
It's wildly unfair. It's ridiculous and it's stupid. But as a country, we don't want universal health care. And this is one of the reasons that I think this needs to change, because it would help a lot of mentally ill people get the care that they need, and then we wouldn't see the outcomes that we see on the news. It would help sick people spend more time getting better and more time with their family than filling out paperwork and fighting with insurance companies. It's an incredible idea, but the problem is the majority of people are well. And when they vote on this, they vote as people who are well. And by the time they're sick and realize how detrimental this system really is toward wellness and health and getting better, it's too late. They've already voted. And we're never going to have enough sick people to reach a majority. So we need people who are well to acknowledge this is a good idea. And many people who are well are just like, hey, I'm fine, so I don't give a shit about you.
Yeah, the resident actually told us that 20% of the U.S. population is on antidepressants.
To back up for a moment, Michelle, you got through it. You did it. You can now add, Frontline's caregiver to your resume. Does it feel good to know that you've come full circle?
I mean, I'm glad that I helped, but I mean, no, I'm
we
glad.
all know that you'd rather not be in this situation.
Yes.
Michelle, if we were in your apartment right now and the house caught on fire,
not again,
and you passed out, and I picked you up and I threw you over my shoulder and I carried you down 3 flights of stairs and saved your life, I would be a nervous fucking wreck. I mean, I think we all know that. Like, one, my back would hurt because I can't carry things. But if somebody said, do you feel good about saving Michelle? I'd be like, yeah, I do feel good about it. I'm glad I knew what to do. I'm glad I recognized there's a fire. I'm glad I had the strength to carry her. I'm glad I recognized that she was passed out and couldn't help herself. So nobody's asking, do you want to do it again? I'm asking, now that it's over, do you feel good that you knew what to do in a society where most people have no idea what to do?
I see what you're saying. That we took the right course of action with the situation. I mean, I'm just hoping that she feels better. I don't like when my friends don't feel good.
I don't know. You seem to like it when I don't feel good. You poke me and call me names.
That's different. I like making fun of you, but that's different.
That's different.
I just don't want her to ever feel that way ever again. I don't want her to think that, like, I was upset when I was there. I don't want her to be scared to tell me her feelings because I didn't like to be in the psych ward. I don't want her to try to hide things from me. Like, if she ever does need to go again, I would be there for her. And I hope that she doesn't end up in a compromising situation ever again. Especially not a worse one.
You've really touched on something that is really, really important, and a lot of people in our community really need to hear. So often when we get sicker and we feel worse and we feel bad and we feel spirals coming, we don't want to burden the people around them, so we lie. We've talked about this in numerous shows where we say we're fine when we're not, and we get sicker and sicker and sicker, and then we end up putting ourselves in harm's way, and we make it harder for the people around us to help us. And we've got to get over that, because if we would have asked for help when we were just a little bit sick, the help would have been easier to get. But because we just kept thinking that we could internalize it and help ourselves, and we didn't want to be a burden or a bother or an obligation, we got ourselves sicker and made it worse for the people desperately trying to help us.
You're right, Gabe. It is important. You have to be honest with the people around you, because if you need help, you need to be able to ask for help, and you have to have those people around you that will help you too. And everybody really kind of needs that in their life. And I know that my friend can always depend on me, and I'll always be there for her forever. And I hope she knows that.
Michelle, that's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, it's important to understand, as scary as psychiatric wards are and psychiatric hospitals and getting medical care for any reason, not just mental health, but also physical health, it is scary. Nobody is saying that it's not scary, but don't let fear get in the way of getting better. Because you know what's scarier than a psych ward? Being at home all alone in a compromising position and nobody coming through the door.
Absolutely.
So just please remember that. Michelle?
Yes.
We want people to buy shirts, leave us iTunes reviews, send us funny stories and topic ideas, right?
Absolutely.
Where do they find the Define Normal shirt?
Store.psychcentral.com.
And how many stars do we want on iTunes?
5 stars, please.
And do we want them to write a review or just give us stars?
Definitely write a review.
And do we want people to send us show topics via email?
For sure.
And what is our email?
What is our email?
It is show@psychcentral.com. So hit us up, tell us what you think. Even if you disagree with us, we're glad you're talking about mental health. My name is Gabe Howard, and with me as always is Michelle Hammer, and we will see you all next Monday. Thanks, everyone.
Holla at your boy!
You've been listening to a Bipolar, a Schizophrenic, and a podcast. If you love this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Head over to iTunes or your preferred podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. To work with Gabe, go to gabehoward.com. To work with Michelle, go to schizophrenic.nyc. For free mental health resources and online support groups, head over to psychcentral.com. The show's official website is psychcentral.com/BSP. You can email us at show@psychcentral.com. Thank you for listening, and share widely.
Near, far, wherever you are. You think I could quit the podcast and be like a vocalist?
No.
Oh.